the cousin of pita, a dessert as hot as lava, and extravagant mosaics. This week, we're in Ravenna, Italy.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. Destination Eat Drink is for foodies who love to travel and travelers who like to eat. This week, we're in Ravenna, a delicious city about halfway between Venice and Florence. But first, if you like Destination Eat Drink, be sure to give us a 5-star review. We've also got our ebooks available at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink. I've got city guides to 17 cities throughout Portugal, plus a lot in Spain, even Milan, Italy. And my Portugal guide combines all 17 of my city guides in one book for just $9.99. Get that at buymeacoffee.com/Destination Eat Drink, and thank you very, very much. My guest this week is Silvia from Taste Bologna Tours. You might remember a few months ago, I had Andrea from Taste Bologna on the podcast. We had a great time talking about the food and culture of his city of Bologna. And then I found out that Taste Bologna does tours in Ravenna, a city I've been interested in, but never had a chance to visit. So I asked Silvia, the guide for the Ravenna tours from Taste Bologna, to be on the show. And Silvia tells me about the century-old mosaics in her city, as well as some amazing food like the unique pasta that resembles a chicken's throat, and the local flatbread that's called piadina, and crescione, and a decadent dessert. We got to have that, plus some truffle talk. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Silvia from Taste Bologna Tours. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink. I'm looking forward to talking with you about Ravenna, all the great food, and all the great mosaics there.
Hi. Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm Silvia from Ravenna, and I'm a local guide since 2000, and I'm very happy to be here with you, Brent.
You know, I think Ravenna sometimes kind of gets lost in the shuffle between Florence and Venice, and your job today is going to be telling everyone why they should make Ravenna a stop on their tour of Italy. And Ravenna, if it's famous for one thing, it has to be these extravagant mosaics that date back hundreds, thousands, a couple thousand years even. What can you tell us about these tiles, these pieces of artwork that we see when we come to Ravenna?
You are right. Ravenna, it's still pretty isolated, and I invite everybody to join this hidden gem. So maybe for somebody, it's still a good thing that the city is so unknown. By the way, that's something very special. Here, mosaic, it's still in use. And we have 8 UNESCO buildings in town, and 7 of them with extraordinary mosaics inside, as a record about a golden age, because the city 1600 years ago have been capital for 3 times. So these mosaics are the witnesses about an amazing time when the city during the history has been capital of the Roman Empire. I know sounds pretty strange because the capital of the Roman Empire was Rome, but working a lot with the imagination, you can imagine a city with beautiful palaces and immense building and churches. That was the time of the beginning of the spreading of Christianity. And the mosaics were used as a big message, and very useful because they could last longer than a painting in a very humid city. I can say that Ravenna had been Venice before Venice. Was a city on the sea, surrounded by marshlands, hidden, very hidden also in the past. But that's why it was chosen as capital. Roman Empire, barbarians, so a barbarian government, and then Byzantine Kingdom. So during 350 years, there have been changes of government and style and architecture, and mosaic. It's totally unique. If you want to understand how works mosaic, you definitely have to come here to visit the city.
If I come to Ravenna, Silvia, or when I come to Ravenna, I'm wondering, where would you tell me to go to see the most magnificent of the mosaics?
The city, it's small, easy to walk. There is a very big pedestrian area and shared with bikes. So we use a lot bikes because the pedestrian area is very flat and totally close to cars. So only people, bikes, and electric scooters, and you can enjoy easily, starting from the most famous monumental complex, which is the Basilica of Saint Vitale and the Mausoleum of Galla Placidia. They are in a big green area, in a big garden, surrounded by beautiful pine trees, very, very high. So it's very fascinating. It's charming also from outside, even if from outside you can't even guess what you can expect inside these buildings. And then you can visit Saint Apollinare Nuovo Basilica, the baptistries. We have 2 beautiful baptistries. And there is also another church, but you can join it by car in a very quick ride, like 15 minutes, or by bus. It's only 4 miles from the city, even less. And it's a church of Saint Apollinare in Classe. That's are the most famous spots. And 5 of them are combined in a ticket. So it's also very easy to find online. If people doesn't want to wait in line, I highly recommend to buy the ticket online. Very, very easy.
You guys also do a mosaic making class. What can you tell me about that? What should folks expect when they take a mosaic making class with you?
Ravenna, I think it's one of the most popular spots where people can learn how to make mosaics. For Italians, for locals, we have our public school. So if you live in Italy and you are born in Italy, you can actually start your studies at 14 years old with an art school. And it's included also the mosaic art. It takes 5 years. And then there is a choice. You can choose between university, like Bologna University offer courses for renovation of mosaic in the field of the conservation, or the Fine Art Academy. At the Fine Art Academy, you can learn also contemporary techniques. But if you are here for a short time, definitely you can take a class of 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on your possibilities. So you can learn very fast, because you focus like almost 8 hours per day, starting with the cut of the materials, choosing the colors, and creating your own artworks. That's like the mecca for a mosaic artist, where they can become very creative and get inspired by the old ancient mosaics, and then create by themselves their own masterpieces.
Masterpieces, yes. And then you have a souvenir to take home with you.
Yes, of course. Even something more. It's something unique what you can create.
Let's talk about food. And as I was researching this, because like I intimated earlier, I haven't been to Ravenna, although I love this region of Italy. And I noticed that there were a couple of different flatbreads that are known to your region, and I wanted to talk about them for a moment if we could. One is called, I think, piadina. Can you tell me about this?
Yes, of course. We can consider piadina a sort of half-sister or cousin of pita bread. That's due again to the ancient origins of the city, because the city, as was on the sea, has a very strict bounds with the Mediterranean basin. So Greece, Turkey, and the same, starting from a similar dough, using similar ingredients like flour, water, and lard. That's the secret ingredient. By the way, there is now the possibility also for vegan and vegetarians to eat with oil. That's a flatbread without yeast. So there is just a sprinkle of baking soda, and in the past was cooked on a very hot stone. Now we use a cast iron slab, and it's very easy and quick to prepare. At home, when I was a child, was my grandmother usually making piadina instead of bread, because it was even cheaper and pretty quick. So we used to garnish piadina as a sandwich. So we fill it with salami, with cold cuts, prosciutto crudo, or squacquerone cheese, which is one of my favorites. Squacquerone cheese is very creamy, white. It comes from cow milk.
Yum.
And it's fresh. It's very fresh, almost a liquid. And the perfect combination is with caramelized figs, another very local recipe. You can find in cans or in jars. Sorry, you can find in jars easily here in Ravenna, but I don't think elsewhere. It's pretty rare. We prepare in August, between August and September, at the end of the season of figs trees, and it's amazing. It's delicious. It's very, very yummy.
Love fresh figs. We were just in the Azores at the end of the summer, and the Airbnb where we stayed, the proprietor had a fig tree, and he gave us fresh figs and fig jam. And I ate those so fast. They were so good. I can imagine how good that would be on a piadina. This sounds like a kind of a rustic dish. Would I find this, is this considered street food, or would I go into a sandwich shop, a restaurant? Where would I get a piadina?
You can find it in different versions. It started as a street food, because there are kiosks if you go at the seaside, because Ravenna, it's no more on the sea, but we have 9 beach villages, and in the countryside at the beach you find kiosks with the strips white and green, so you can identify from far this kiosk, and they only sell piadina and crescione. Crescione is the version using the same dough, but fold like a calzone. So it's a half moon shape, but inside the ingredients are totally cooked, like herbs with garlic and pecorino cheese, or grilled vegetables with cheese, or even the simple tomato and mozzarella. The classic one, the oldest, the ancestral recipe, was like the breakfast of the farmer. During the winter, they had to wake up at 4:00 and go harvesting the fields and working very early. And that was a very rich breakfast that can support the right amount of energy for the day. So you can find as a street food, but also in some restaurant in town, as we don't have specifically kiosks in the city. There are small shops, so something more fancy, but local as well. So you can find in restaurants and shops. Sometimes restaurants, they use piadina, they serve in the coperto. It's included in the restoration as flatbread instead of bread, of the normal bread.
So we've got the piadina that has the stuff on top of it, I guess, and then you mentioned the crescione, which is the same dough, you said, the exact same dough, but it's folded over with stuff inside. And then do you fry it or do you bake it? Is it kind of like an empanada?
No baked and no fried, still on the cast iron. So you cook a side, then you cook the opposite side, And at the end, before serving, you cook the back, the middle. So that's very simple. Even at home, if we don't have the cast iron pan, we use a non-sticky pan, and finally at the same, it's completely the same. My favorite when I was a kid was the crescione with Nutella inside, and was hot like lava, was like directly from a volcano, and was awesome. I still love it, but pretty heavy. So, but as a dessert, I highly recommend the crescione with Nutella inside. Now, you can find in the kiosk the Nutellini, which are smaller crescioni, like half size. So you don't need to eat a giant one.
I love the mini ones. Then you can eat more. You can try different kinds and have all the different mini ones. That sounds great. Well, we're in Italy, so we got to talk about pasta. Tell me about some of the different kinds of pasta that we can expect to get when we come visit you in Ravenna.
You know that if you move around the corner, everywhere you go in Italy, you can find different dishes, different ways to make pasta. And primary are the choices of flours. So mainly we use the 00 in Ravenna to make the dough, the pastry puff with eggs normally. And the king of the local pasta is cappelletti. Are similar to tortellini, very similar, but bigger in the size. So they looks like hats. They're similar to hats, and the filling is with cheese, mainly Parmesan cheese, and another one more creamy, like contadino farmer cheese. And they're usually cooked in the broth for Christmas time. It's a comfort food, cappelletti, during the winter, or you can also find during the summer with bolognese sauce. Both recipes, both the way to garnish are really, really good. Cappelletti. So cappelletti is the one you must try if you come here. And there are also other dishes less known than cappelletti, because cappelletti, more similar than a ravioli, and maybe in the popular imagination sounds easier to figure. But another type of dish that I love very much are passatelli. Passatelli also come from a very ancient tradition of farmers when you have to mix leftovers and creating something with what you already have. And it's a dough made with grated bread and eggs, nutmeg, a sprinkle of nutmeg, and Parmesan cheese. So that's are the 4 ingredients you need, nothing else. And then you mash in a potato masher. So what comes out are like giant noodles, and you have to boil in a broth, in a chicken broth or stock broth. And you can eat it with the broth, but there is also a dry version, which is one of my favorite, and that's like something. I think that it's very watermouth, and it's with a sprinkle of truffle and in a fondue of cheese, and it's very winter style.
Yeah.
As Christmas dish or New Year's Eve. One year I made it for New Year's Eve. Because it's very special, even if it doesn't require too many skills, okay? Because it's pretty quick and easy, but the result, it's gold.
This is kind of rustic cuisine, kind of poor people's cuisine, poor person's dish, but then you're topping it with truffles, which is the highest of haute cuisine thing. And are there a lot of truffles in your region? Because I'm a big truffle guy. What you don't know about me is that I actually wrote a book about truffles. My novel was about truffles, and I love truffles, so I always get really excited when I hear that there's truffles in the area.
Of course. Actually, Ravenna, it's flat. And what you can find here very close are the black truffles, not the white that are better. So the pinewood truffle in our pine woods, because we are in the Po Delta region. But just if you climb a little bit, 35, 40, even 50 kilometers, there are a couple of medieval spots, medieval villages with around all the bushes, and you can find great truffles there. That spots are Brisighella and Nuova Feltria, sorry, not Nuova Feltria, Sant'Agata Feltria. Sant'Agata and Brisighella are pretty close, and they also organize a festival during autumn. Between end of September and beginning of October, you can find festivals of truffle.
Wow, I love it. And would I also find truffles at the market, the local market?
Yes, you can find in the grocery shops. So we have very special grocery shops, and they have their suppliers at the big markets, the big grocery markets from Cesena, and they also have private suppliers, farmers, and people who find truffles and they resell to people, because in a small city there are actually very small markets.
Getting back to the pasta, I wanted to ask you about this unique pasta shape that I had not heard about before, called garganelli. What can you tell me about this? Because it sounds very interesting to me.
Are delicious, very delicious garganelli, and there is a sort, even here, a legendary origins. Garganelli are like squares of pasta with strips on the top, and when you roll them, because they become similar to macaroni at the end once you rolled, and they looks like the throat of a chicken. So the legends say that a woman, a woman in a castle for a party, she was she was preparing cappelletti, but the cat stolen all the filling of cappelletti, and she didn't know how to manage. So with her imagination, she decided to use the pasta without the filling and rolling using this specific tool to make it's like a wooden tool with strips. The same you can use for gnocchi, for example. When you want to put the strip on gnocchi, it's very similar. And then you roll, and it looks like the throat of a chicken. The ending result is like that. They are great with a couple of different sauces. The one I prefer, it's a white sauce, like with the cream and peas, with sausage or mushroom, but also the version always with the green beans and tomato is fine. It's delicious. A little bit of stir fry belly, pork belly, and that's all. It's very simple to cook.
I have to imagine that when you roll it and you make the ridges on this pasta, and then you've got the hole in the middle, that it does a really good job of holding the sauce in there. So tomato sauces and cream sauces, like you were talking about, it must hold quite a bit of that condiment on there to get even more flavor.
Yes, the because they absorb very well. As they have strips, they melt very well with the sauces. Even if it's white or red, it doesn't matter. They become a very good dish. So it is another must try.
Let's talk about sweets and desserts, because I lived in Rhode Island in the U.S. for many years, and there's a very large Italian-American population there. So we used to have zuppa inglese all the time. On special occasions, we would always have zuppa inglese. And I guess I didn't realize what its origin was, that it was from the region where you live, Silvia. For folks who don't know about zuppa inglese, what can you tell us about it?
It's also one of my favorite desserts. My grandmother used in the past to prepare very often for celebrations. So I was very attached to that dessert. And you are very spoiled if you found it when you were in US, because I thought it was pretty uncommon. Here a lot of regions in Italy claim the origins of this, and as I am from Ravenna, I am from Emilia-Romagna, I think the origins are from here.
Okay.
And that type of dessert, it's pretty simple, but what makes it unique is the intense red color due to the liquor, the alkermes in the middle and absorbed by the biscuits. It's a sort of trifle, similar to a trifle. The name zuppa inglese maybe ring a bell because was probably a local chef who came in where we are speaking like about 1800, something like that. So went to England. And he noticed this cake, this type of dessert, and he replicated it here in our region. And according to always the legends, there are a lot of are pretty mysterious, this recipe and their origins. But maybe a diplomatic asked to have the same dessert here, the one he tried in England. And the chef tried to make his best, and the result was the zuppa inglese, so not the trifle, but this with the red liquor and chocolate cream and the yellow, like English cream. So that's a combination of beautiful colors together. So that's also very spoiling for the eyes, not only for the taste. It's very nice as dessert.
Well, Silvia from Taste Bologna Tours, it's been a delight talking to you, learning about your city, and I think people will be very excited to go now. I know I want to see mosaics, and I want to eat your pasta, and I definitely want to try piadina when I come to Ravenna. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been wonderful talking to you.
You are very welcome. Thank you. And I'm very looking forward to meeting you in Ravenna when you will be there.
Okay, that's Silvia from Taste Bologna. You can book a tour or find out more from Silvia at tastebologna.net. That's taste, BOLOGNA.net. And if you want to hear more from my interview with Silvia, go to my Substack where we talk about the mosaics a little bit more and a local cookie that's so hard it might break a tooth. That is until you find the proper drink to dunk it in. That's for my paid Substack subscribers at destinationeatdrink.substack.com. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we're in Mumbai, India for the Alley of Treats and the original Uber Eats. Don't miss that. Until then, there's a bunch more foodie travel stuff at destinationeatdrink.com. I just published a story about the only place in Europe where they grow pineapples commercially. And they're the most delicious ones I've ever had. Sorry, Hawaii. You can read that at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. I also have a new video out. In this one, I'm in Lisbon for the best African food in the city. You might not think of African food when you think of Portugal, but Portugal had colonies in Africa for hundreds of years, and there's vibrant African communities throughout the country, including in Lisbon, and that means amazing African food from Angola, Mozambique, and more. You can watch that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I will see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.